Hello everyone, welcome to Explore Electronics. Today let's begin with module 2 in which we'll be learning about managing input and output operations. So in this video we'll be learning about Scanf, Printf, getString and putstring functions. So let's understand that in any C program we will have three major steps, that is reading the input, processing and writing the output. So in order to read the data, there are two ways in which we can do this. One is by assigning the values to the variables directly, and the second way is to use the scanf and printf statements. Scanf to read the data and printf to write the data. So with a small example, let's understand how to use the scanf and printf to read and write the data. So here is a simple program to calculate the cube of a number. So in this program what we are doing, first we need to include the standard input-output library, which is stdio.h, and in the main function we are declaring a variable called number. So first we need to ask the user to enter a number. So how we are doing it? Using the printf statement. So this is the syntax. If you can observe, we are writing the function name printf, and inside that whatever we write in the double quotes will be printed on the screen. So here we need to say the user, we need to ask the user to enter a number. So in order to display the string, we are using the printf statement. So we need to write this inside a double quotes. Now we need to read whatever the user has entered. We need to take and store it in this variable which we have declared. So how to do that is using the scanf statement. So in the scanf statement, we need to mention the format of the input. So we are telling that the input should be in the format of an integer. So this is the formatting code which says that the input should be in the form of a integer. And we are storing that using this ampersand symbol and the variable name. We are storing the input entered by the user into this variable, right? So this specifies that this is the address where the input should be taken into. Now what we need to do is we need to print the cube of the number. Since this is a simple calculation, we can directly do this calculation in the printf statement, and here after this is evaluated, the value will be printed on the screen. How this is done? We need to first say that cube of the number is, and we are telling that this is the place where this value will be taken into. So this %d again means that it should be an integer. So what is the value should be displayed in this place is what we write here. So we are writing number into number into number. This means the cube of whatever we have entered. So this value will be evaluated during the runtime, and it will be displayed in this place. So you can observe here, first we will enter a number on screen, and suppose we are entering 5. And the output will be displayed like this. The cube of number is, and this is the evaluated value here. Now we have a simple way to read character, that is using getchar, and also to write the character we have something called putchar. So we will see each of these character operations. So this is a very simple way of reading a single character. So this is the syntax. So this is the variable name what we are giving. For example, if we are having a variable called a, and we need to get a character to this variable. So we can write a is equal to getchar. So this is just a simple function which is not having any arguments in this. It is just plain. It will be taking the single character. And if you observe here, all character related functions will be contained in a library called ctype.h library, similar to our stdio.h, in which we have all the standard input-output operations. For all character related functions, we have a library called ctype.h. Now let us see what are all the character functions we have. This function is isAlNum of C, which means it is checking if this variable C is alphanumeric character. Okay, similar to check if it is an alphabetic character, we can use isAlpha of C. The C is what we are checking. C is a variable in which the data is stored, and if we are checking that if it is an alphabetic character. Similarly, we can check if it is a digit, if it is lowercase, if it is uppercase, if it is a space, or if it is a punctuation mark, or if it is a printable character. So in order to check if the character is of this different formats, we can use these functions. So let us take a small example and understand how we are doing this. So here you can see we have our standard io.h library, and we also have included ctype.h library. Now let us declare a variable called key. So this is where we will be putting the input data. Now we need to ask the user to enter any key. So how to do that is with using printf statement. Now this /n which you can see here, that means whatever the data we enter will come in the next line. That is just indicating that we need to, that it will be displayed in the next line. Now we need to take the value into this variable. So what we are writing, key is equal to getchar, and so this getchar will get that input character and will store in this variable called key. Now we need to check if the entered character is alphabet or a digit, or if it is not an alphanumeric character. So these are the three conditions that we are going to check. So first we need to write the if statement, and inside this we are checking if the entered key is alpha or not. So if this condition satisfies, that means if the entered key or the entered character is an alphabet, then it will enter this loop. Just understand, it will enter this loop only if this condition satisfies. If this condition satisfies, the value here will be true, or you can say 1. As soon as the value here is 1, we will enter here, and this statement whatever we have written here, that is printf, will be executed, and on the screen we will see that the entered key is a letter. Suppose if the entered character is not a letter, not an alphabet, suppose we have entered something called 7, a digit. Now what happens, if it is going to the else condition, and again we have written if there. So this is else if condition. We need to check if it is a digit. So we are writing else if, and we are checking if the entered character is a digit. Now if this condition satisfies, that means if it is a digit, it will enter here and it will execute this statement and not this. So it will not enter here, it will check here and it will come here. So this statement will be executed and it will display the entered key is a digit. If the entered character is not a digit also, now these both conditions are not satisfied. So it will come to the else condition. Else, if it can be anything now, it is not going to check anything in the else. If it is apart from alphabet and it is not a digit, so it will come to else and it will execute this statement. And it will print the entered key is not an alphanumeric. It is neither an alphabet nor a number. So that is when it enters the else condition. So you can see the output will be like this. In the first case, what we are giving the input is a character. Suppose we give A and it will be displaying the entered key is a letter because this condition is satisfied. Now if we enter some number called 7, now this condition is satisfied. This is not satisfied. So it will come here, and if any of these conditions are satisfied, is not going to execute else condition. Correct? So if first condition is satisfied, the second and third will not be checked. If this is satisfied, it will get inside this and print the output. If first is not satisfied, then only it will come to the else if condition. If else if is also not satisfied, then only it will come to the else condition. So this is the order in which it will be checking for the conditions. So the last value what we have entered, suppose we have entered a special character for neither an alphabet nor a number. So what will be the condition satisfied here will be the else condition. So this is what it will be displayed. Now similarly, to write a character, we have something called putchar. So the syntax is putchar and variable name. So here we can see there is a variable called name and we are assigning some value called y. And using putchar, we are just displaying this y. And we can also convert the characters into upper and lower cases by using two upper and two lower functions. So this is a simple program in which a character is checked if it is an uppercase as we know, we have to include the standard io.h, and for using the character functions we need to use ctype.h. So in the main function we are declaring a variable called alphabet, which is of type character. So it can only take the character input. Now we are asking the user to enter any alphabet, and using getchar we are assigning the entered character into, and we are storing it into this variable alphabet. Now we need to check if the entered character is lower. So we need to use is lower and pass this variable. So this is the variable where it is having our entered input data. So now it will check if it is lower. If it is lower, this condition will satisfy and it will come inside this and execute this. So here what we are doing, using putchar, we are displaying the output but in uppercase. So to make that entered value into uppercase, we are using 2 upper. So here you can see, first time when the user is asked to enter any alphabet, the user has entered uppercase A. So in this case what happens, the first condition is not satisfied. So it will go to else and it will be printing the lowercase value. In the second condition, the user has entered lowercase value. In that case, is lower is satisfied. So now it will print the uppercase alphabet. Here it should have been lowercase a. So ideally what it is doing, it is checking if the entered alphabet is uppercase. If it is uppercase, it is converting it to lowercase and displaying. If it is lowercase, it is converting it into uppercase and displaying. So this is what this simple program is doing. Now let us understand how to format the input data and output data. How do we specify that the input data should be of this format and the output data, whatever we are going to print, should be of this format? Just to specify the format, we can use the control string. So this is a syntax, and to read the data we know that we have scanf, and if we are giving this control string, that means we are specifying these input should be of this particular format. Okay, let us understand what are the different control strings we have to format the input. Here there are 2 simple examples. Here you can see we have scanf and we have written %2d, %2d, ampersand a and ampersand b. What the statement means, so this is address 1 and this is address 2. That is nothing but we have 2 variables into which the data will be taken, and here we are specifying in what format the data should be. Here you can see we have written %2d. Here 2 specifies that it should be 2 digits and d specifies it should be integer. So this is how we are formatting the inputs, correct? And suppose we are giving input 4 digits. Now what happens, since we have given 2d, it was going to take only 2 digits of this input. Okay, so now the a value, this is a, will be having value 45 and b will be having value 67, and this 25 will not be considered because we have already mentioned that a and b both will be having only 2 digits of integer. So at a time if you are entering 4 digits and then again you are entering 2 digits, this will not be considered. Only these 2 will be split into a and b. We have one more example in which we can write something called *d. Okay, here in this case what happens, suppose for a we are entering 4525, a 4 digit number. Now for a and b, in this case what happened, if we had given 4 digit number, a and b used to have 2 digits each, correct? But here since we have given *d, that means it will skip the second 2 digit integer if we are giving. Suppose we give 4525 and then 63, this 25 is going to be skipped. So after 2 digits of integer, whatever we are getting will be ignored and the next 2 digits will be taken into b. So ideally if you are giving 4525, 4525 as input A and 63 as input B, what it does, it is going to take only 45 as A value and 63 as B value. 25 will be skipped since we are formatting the input data like this. Now we have certain rules for writing the scanf. So let us look into each of them. The first rule states that each variable to be read must have a specification. Like what we saw in the previous slide, each variable what we are reading, we need to specify the format of that. And for each field specification, there must be an address of proper type. So without the address, the value will not be stored. So for each field specification, there must be an address. And we should never end the format string with a white space. In the previous slide, you can observe here, we have scanf %2d %2d. Here there is no space. So we need to include this in double quotes, and there should not be any space after this. So it is fatal. We should never give white space in the formatting string. That is what the third rule means. And the fourth rule, let us understand until when the scanf will be reading the input. So these are the 4 conditions until when the scanf will read. So the first condition is until it encounters a white space. So if it sees a white space in the specification, it will end there. And if the maximum number of characters have been read, there is some maximum number of characters which it can read. So if it is beyond that maximum number, it will not read that input. It will stop there. And if there is some error detected, for any reason, if there is any error detected, then the scanf reading will be stopped. And if we reach the end of the file, suppose we are reading a file and we have reached the end. So now the scanf will be stopped. So these are the 4 conditions until when the scanf will be reading. So the fifth rule for scanf is any non-white space character used in a format string must have a matching character in the user input. That means if we are specifying a %d, that means integer, there should be a matching input from the user. There should be some integer input. Then only it will be considering that. Here we have a table in which we have different formatting codes that we can use to do different formatting. For example, we have %c. That means we are formatting the input to be a single character. We don't have any number here. That means it is a single character. Similarly, we have %d for a decimal integer. Suppose here we give 2d. That means it can be a 2-digit decimal integer. Similarly, we have E, F and G for floating point values, and we have H for short integer, and we have I for decimal integer, and O for octal integer, S is to read a string, and U is for unsigned decimal integer, and we have X for hexadecimal integer, and we have the string format for reading a string. Now let us understand the output formatting. Similar to scanf, we have printf for output. We'll have a control string and the arguments that we are going to print. So in the control string, we can mention the formatting what we need to do. For example, here is a printf statement in which we are saying A will be equal to 07D, which means it is going to allocate 7 spaces. The memory space will be having the value only decimal integer. And what does this 0 mean? If we write 0 and some number, that means even if the number which we are going to print is not of 7 digits, we need to print only 4-digit number. Okay, but we still have 3 digits left over, so that leftover digits will be occupied by zeros. So this is how we will be displaying that particular output. So here they have given an example of a variable called A, which is having value 7777. So this is the 4-digit value. But what we have formatted this output to look like is, we are telling it should be a 7-digit number and the remaining number should be occupied by zeros. So this is how the output will look like. We are having 7, 7, 7 and 7, and the remaining 3 places will be occupied by zeros. So we can have these many formatting codes to do the formatting for the output. If we are having %c, again like we had in scanf, it will print a single character. So this is to print a decimal integer. Similarly, to print all the floating point values, to print the decimal integers, to print octal integer, to print a string, and to print a string of word. Now we have other 2 specified functions for getString and putString. This is to get the strings and put the strings. These are line oriented input output functions which is available in our standard IO.h. So what does this get string will do? We need to read it as get string. So it can read the multi-word string. So for example, we have a character variable called name and size specified is 10, and using this get string function we are going to print this, take the value into this variable. And to print the string we have put string function. So this function we can use to display the entire string on the monitor without the need of using this %s. So if we are going to print string using printf, then we are going to use this %s specifier. But using put string function, we can directly display the string without the need of using this specifier. For example, we have a variable called name which is having the string. So this string we can display on the screen by using put string function. Thank you.